Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ask Warble show. We're here back with Adam again. Hey.
Hey.
Adam, do you think it's really hot in here? No, that is not a cue to take off all of your clothes. That means that we're talking about fire and fire performers. And did you like that intro?
I thought you were just trying to make me reveal the fact that I'm wearing the same t-shirt as I did in the last video.
Well, you've said it now, and now everyone knows, so there's no need to wear the jacket. Yeah, we're talking about fire performers. They're really exciting. They're a really cool option for loads of different types of events, but there's loads of stuff you need to know about them, so we're going to cover that today. Let's just start then. What kind of things can we expect from a fire performer or a fire performance on the day?
It's like a mixed bag of tricks that always involves flames, naturally. What they've got in there is going to be things like fire poi. They've got like hoops and things like that. They'll juggle with fire. So yeah.
What is fire poi? What's fire poi?
Think ignited balls on the end of strings or chains that they spin around.
Cool. Yeah, wicked. So I guess there's so many things they can do. What would you say are the different kind of types of fire performance that you can have? I know you could have maybe in groups or just by themselves, or...
Yeah, so if you get them in a group, then they can basically juggle to each other, that kind of thing, and interact that way. If you get like a solo fire performer, then yeah, I mean, they've got the different options, whether you want it to be a kind of ambient set freestyle in the background, or if you want it to be a full-on kind of show.
Cool. So there's kind of two things. You can have like a freestyle type thing, or it's like a bit more choreographed. Do they do that to like music or anything like that, or is it just kind of them doing their thing?
So both of them, you can use music to work to it. If you go for the fire show, then that's just going to be short, like 15 to 20 minutes, really high energy. It's going to be synced in with the music.
Wicked. Do they kind of interact with the crowd, or is it one of those things where it is a little bit separate because they are basically throwing fire around? They can't do that.
I mean, there's health and safety involved, which means people will have to stand back to a certain degree so they don't lose their eyebrows and that. But, I mean, they will, they'll mingle with them, they'll explain the things that they're about to do, the tricks that they're going to do, and then they'll joke around with them too.
Wicked. Okay, so as you mentioned, the health and safety is a big thing because we are playing with fire here, literally playing with fire. So I'm guessing that these guys are insured and have all the documents. Is that something that you need to make sure that it's like checked up on if you're going to be sending out a fire performer?
Yeah, and they're all very thorough with it as well, so they are fully insured on everything they do. All the risk assessments are carried out beforehand, and then on the day they'll make sure they arrive early, they'll check out the location, make sure they've got space, all the fire buckets are out, and they'll liaise with the venues beforehand as well.
Sure. I mean, that danger aspect of it is probably what's the most appealing about having a fire performer in the first place. Yeah. I think when I look at kind of the performers that we have, and even some of the kind of like stunty type things, the more dangerous they are, the more I kind of like feel like I want to see what they can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Almost as bad as it's almost kind of like the whole car crash kind of thing that you can't help but stop and watch that.
Yeah, totally. And it sounds bad, but like obviously you want it to go well for them, but are you one of those people that there's that like 0.5% of you that's like, what if it does go wrong?
What if the tree does set on fire?
Yeah.
You got a whole new show in your hands.
Exactly. But it goes without saying that these guys are like super professional. So obviously these health and safety documents are necessary because of what kind of things they're doing, but they've kind of been doing it for years and they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, and in actuality, I mean, the risk involved is minimal. They are true professionals. It's very rare that they'll ever drop anything will set on fire. If it does get to a point where things are getting a little hot, then that's why the fire buckets are there. It'll be extinguished, so yeah, they're on top of it.
Sweet, okay. So as you mentioned, there's loads of different types of shows that you can have. For a typical fire show, how long would it normally last?
So 15 to 20 minutes is good. Some people who may not have looked into it before might think that seems a little short, but it's not in reality, because you've got to think, I mean, a song is going to be maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and if they're doing this for 20 minutes and they've got 5 songs that they're going through whilst they're doing this, it's all choreographed and really high energy, then yeah, it's huge. It's a real wow factor, and you don't want to lose that as well by dragging it out too long.
It's quite an intense thing to watch, so for it to be condensed into that time makes sense, doesn't it? Because you will lose that excitement over that amount of time, I suppose. So cool. With more choreographed shows, do they ever happen any longer or shorter if it's kind of mix and mingle, or you have kind of fire performers that will do a longer set like throughout the day, or is it just
they can be longer. The thing to take into account is things when they're on fire, they tend to incinerate and they tend to run out of fuel. So there will be things where I know certain acts out there, they will stop to refuel and work that into the actual choreographed set, so they can extend them up to maybe half an hour, which it's really clever. But for the most part, then you've got to keep it short just because the nature of fire itself.
Yeah, because of the medium of actual fire. Okay, that makes sense. So what kind of events do you usually see fire performers actually performing at?
We get a lot of them, surprisingly, at weddings and private parties.
Very cool.
Yeah, people love it. It's always the people where they want something a little bit different, and we hear that a lot in many different terms. Sometimes they want the music to be a little different, but the people who, they really do want people to be like, wow, that's going to be remembered. They go for fire. There's certain things on fire, you'll always remember
that. You never forget that. I suppose it's the sway away from the traditional fireworks to end the night. Are you seeing that a bit more often where people are going for a bit more of an extravagant performance to finish things off?
Yeah, that's right. And fireworks as well, I mean, they can be a lot of fun. They're much more noisy though, which some venues have big problems with, and they do create litter as well, whereas fire performers don't. They look great, they don't make a huge amount of noise, only as that was the music that they've got on there, so they're a much better option. They're a greener option to fire.
Okay, that makes sense. The other way to putting it as well is that a lot of people will have seen fireworks before, but not every day will you see somebody maybe like swallowing fire or doing like fire poi like you mentioned before. So it is something a little bit different to kind of add to it. And you have a person actually doing it, don't you? Which is cool.
Exactly, which gives them like control and they get creative with it. I mean, a firework, it'll go up, it'll explode, it's done. Whereas a person in control of fire, they can make anything happen with it and manipulate it. So there's a lot more to see.
Awesome. Okay. I don't know if this is a stupid question or not, but I was always of the assumption that fire performers can only perform outside because it's fire. But can they actually perform inside as well, or?
They can do, yeah.
But how is this possible, Adam? Because smoke alarms and things.
Yeah, so some venues, again, they can be more stricter, but others who have big open spaces, then they can perform within them, and they have, fire and things like that they're specifically designed to work indoors, so they don't give off as much smoke and that kind of thing.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Okay, so if it's raining on the day, then it's not the end of the world if you've booked a fire performer, if they can perform inside, that is.
Generally, they will like to liaise with the venue beforehand if they can go indoors about that, but they will come with other backups, like they'll bring along their standard poi and glow equipment as well. So if it does get rained off on the day, so you can't physically have a fire, they will have entertainment there with you. So I mean, they're multi-skilled entertainers, so they've always got a backup.
Yeah, I suppose so, because a lot of the guys are amazing at kind of juggling and kind of maybe circusy type things, and the fact that they're doing it with fire is just kind of brings it to the next level. But I guess they can still do that without it being on fire.
Take the fire away, they've still got the skill behind it.
Yeah, totally. So what time of day would you say is best for a fire performer?
I wouldn't. I'd say it's better at
night. What time of day? Not time of day at all.
You need it to be dark. So yeah, that's generally how it's going to look best. I mean, they can be there in the day, but if you look at a fire in the day compared to at night where it's glowing and it's illuminating the area around them, it's going to look so much better. So always go for nighttime, which of course summer is going to have to be a little bit later. Winter, you can get them earlier for bonfire nights, things like that as well.
There's that kind of instinctive kind of feeling as well, and being out at night and maybe being round a fire. I know it's different when someone's throwing it around and stuff, but it's kind of maybe natural for us to kind of warm towards that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mesmerising. You just watch flames flicker and that's great, and then when you've got somebody there that's actually throwing it around, then
it's amazing thing to see. You mentioned this before. You said something about an ambient set and a fire show. What are these things, and what will be the difference between them?
Ambient's much better if it's going to be for like a kind of festival theme, and we see a lot of festival style weddings, that kind of thing. They're perfect for that. So if it's during the evening entertainment, we've got like a drinks reception where it might have already gone dark for a winter wedding or something.
Sure.
They're great for that because it's not stop and watch so much, but people can watch as and when they want. So you don't have to worry about gathering everyone in one space at one time. They'll just be there doing extended performances in the background throughout. So
Okay, is it a bit more kind of free and do they actually kind of move around throughout the crowd, or are they usually in a fixed spot and people are just kind of milling around them?
It would again depend on the location, because they've obviously got to take into account not setting things on fire, if there's any trees, shrubbery or anything like that.
Sure.
But it is a case where, yeah, it's much more freestyle, it's ambient, they can play around with it a lot more, they can just mix in whatever kind of tricks they feel necessary at the time.
Awesome, okay. Pyrotechnics, that's the kind of fancy word for many of fire.
Lots of bang.
So a pyrotechnic finale, that's not fireworks, is it? Is that a different thing entirely?
Yeah, so the best way that we describe that is a bit like a human Catherine wheel. I can't demonstrate it myself, but if you can picture that in your head, then you've got a pretty bang on.
I would have been really impressed if you could have demonstrated that yourself.
Try it.
So that's kind of what it is, kind of a big ending to fire.
Yeah.
Wicked. Space, actual space. How much would a fire performer need? I'm assuming that they might need a little bit extra than maybe a regular juggler or something like that, because again, fire. So.
Yeah. So with that, it will vary depending on what you're going for, because you can do solo shows, you can do group shows like duos, trios, that kind of thing. Generally though, per person, you're looking at 4 by 4 by 4 meters. So think of a big 4 meter cube.
Big cube.
They'll fit nicely in it.
Fantastic. Finally, Adam, why would you recommend fire performers in general? What would you say to somebody if they were considering, looking at fire performers or something big to end their night? What would you say?
Everybody loves fire. It's a fact. Basically, it's something that's really got to stand out. It's going to be remembered, and it's always going to be different. It's one of those things where people will stand and stare at fire when it's doing nothing, as we mentioned. And if you've got somebody that looks amazing, they're doing amazing things with it, then it's not just seeing what skills they've got, it's seeing fire being thrown around.
Fantastic. All right, Adam. Well, thanks again. That's been Ask Warble on fire performers. If you guys have any questions about anything we've mentioned, please get in touch or use the hashtag AskWarble for any further questions on videos. Thank you.